Now for what's trending in true crime, an Indiana community is asking for a change in the child welfare system.
At 5 years old, most children are exploring the world with curiosity, drawing with crayons, asking questions, and discovering new things every day. But for one young girl in Indiana, life took a very different path. Instead of playrooms and playgrounds, her world became limited to a small, enclosed space. There were no toys, no conversations, and very little comfort. Each day passed quietly, without the warmth and care that every child deserves. What happened inside that home would later raise serious questions about protection, oversight, and the systems designed to keep children safe. It began as just another case in the background of a busy world, but soon it would become something that no one could ignore. Claustrophobia affects over 30 million adults in the United States, typically involving discomfort or anxiety in confined spaces. But for some, limited space isn't just an occasional challenge, it's part of their everyday environment. This was the case for Kinsley Welty, a 5-year-old girl whose situation drew national attention due to concerns about her living conditions and overall safety. Her case has become an important reference point in conversations about child welfare and housing standards. Kinsley Welty was born in Indiana in the summer of 2018. From the beginning, her life was surrounded by complex family dynamics. Her parents, Tony McClure and Bradley Welty, were no longer in a relationship by the time she reached early childhood. Details about how they met are limited, but their relationship reportedly faced challenges early on. By 2018, when their daughter was just a few weeks old, both were already under investigation for neglect. Authorities found the infant in unhealthy living conditions, raising concerns about her well-being and prompting immediate involvement from child services. Following that incident, the two parents separated. Bradley Welty, her biological father, had limited involvement afterward, while the child's care shifted between family members and state services. Their breakup didn't just mark the end of a relationship, it highlighted deeper concerns about parenting and care. Even after multiple signs of neglect, the authorities made the decision to reunite her with her mother, a choice that many would later question. After separating from Bradley Welty, Tony McClure began a relationship with Ryan Smith, eventually moving in with him in Indianapolis. At the time, Tony had 3 children, including Kinsley, from her previous marriage. But before we begin, I just want to say thank you to my amazing viewers and subscribers. Your support through likes, shares, and comments means the world to me. Your engagement helps make these stories even more meaningful. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of true crime enthusiasts. As their relationship progressed, Ryan became part of the family, and they decided to live together with the children. The household grew more crowded as additional children, including a baby, joined the home. With the increase in family members, space and resources became limited, raising concerns about whether the children, particularly Kinsley, were receiving adequate care in the challenging living environment. Kinsley, like many children her age, had a bright and curious spirit. She loved to explore the world around her, asking questions and discovering new things. She was known for her infectious smile and the joy she brought to those who knew her. Despite the challenges she faced in her early years, her family members remember her as a vibrant child with a natural sense of wonder. On April 9, 2024, a 911 call was made reporting a young child in urgent need of medical assistance. Indianapolis police and medics responded quickly to the scene, where they found Kinsley in critical condition. Emergency responders provided immediate care and transported her to the nearest hospital for further treatment. Kinsley was taken to Riley Hospital for Children in Indianapolis, where doctors began an evaluation of her condition. While the exact cause of her injuries was not immediately clear, medical professionals noted signs of severe trauma and neglect. Despite their efforts to stabilize her, Kinsley's condition continued to decline. Sadly, Kinsley passed away shortly after arriving at the hospital. Medical personnel confirmed that she had experienced significant physical and emotional harm, believed to be related to ongoing neglect. The results of the autopsy were clear. Her hair appeared to have been cut unevenly, and there were signs of poor hygiene. Her skin showed visible marks, and there were sores on her body. Medical professionals noted the condition of her face and other areas that suggested neglect. The scene was deeply concerning and raised significant questions about the care she had received. The Indianapolis police launched a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding her condition. Detectives began by speaking with those closest to her to gather any information that could help piece together the events leading to this tragedy. The first individuals interviewed were Kinsley's mother, Toni McClure, and her biological father, Bradley Welty. Both were asked about Kinsley's health, her recent activities, and any potential issues they might have observed that could explain her distress. Toni McClure, when questioned, explained that she had been caring for Kinsley alone in the days leading up to the incident. She mentioned that her daughter had been acting a little off, but didn't elaborate further on what she meant. When asked about any previous signs of neglect or maltreatment, McClure denied any wrongdoing, stating that she had provided for Kinsley's basic needs.
From the outside, it might have looked like a typical case of a child with a few health concerns. Kinsley had been diagnosed with a mild form of dwarfism and a condition known as tracheomalacia, where the cartilage in the windpipe is softer than usual. It's not something she was born with, but over time, it became clear that her breathing wasn't quite like other kids. This condition, often described by doctors as a floppy trachea, can make even simple things like coughing or catching your breath more difficult. It usually requires consistent monitoring, sometimes special care, and in some cases, medical follow-up to ensure the child is safe and thriving. But in Kinsley's case, there's little evidence that she was given that kind of care. Records don't show regular doctor visits or treatments to manage her condition. In fact, by the time emergency responders arrived on April 9, 2024, it was clear she hadn't been under medical supervision for quite some time. Toni initially stated that Kinsley had been living with her father, Bradley, in the months leading up to the incident. At first, Bradley wasn't considered a primary suspect, but investigators wanted to understand more about his involvement in Kinsley's life and whether he had any awareness of the conditions she had been experiencing. When officers questioned Toni about Bradley's role, she provided limited details. She was unable to give them an address and offered vague explanations about how they had communicated during that time. She mentioned that when she picked Kinsley up on April 9th, the child appeared thinner and had visible bruises, but she couldn't offer a clear reason why. As the investigation deepened, the police executed a search warrant at Toni's home. The goal was to uncover any evidence that could explain the terrible conditions Kinsley had been living in. But they didn't know exactly what they would find, but they knew swift action was necessary. The circumstances surrounding Kinsley's passing had raised serious concerns, prompting a closer look at the environment she'd been staying in. Inside the home, officers observed signs of significant neglect. The space appeared unclean and unsuitable for children. But what stood out most was a small closet, reported to have been used as a space where Kinsley may have been kept alone. This closet was not a typical storage area. Investigators noted markings on the walls and door, along with an unpleasant odor. The space lacked basic comforts, no bedding, toys, or signs of appropriate use. Toni insisted she had tried to care for her daughter, but the story kept shifting. Each time detectives asked for more details about Bradley, about Kinsley's health, or about life at home, Toni seemed unsure or evasive. The search of the house had already revealed far more than words could explain, and now the inconsistencies in Toni's statements added to the growing concern.
The confession came as detectives pressed Toni McClure for answers. Inconsistencies in her story became more apparent. With each question, Toni appeared more anxious, and her responses became less clear. Eventually, she shared more about her past and the circumstances surrounding Kinsley's death. During this interrogation, she discussed her previous involvement with the Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS, her relationship with her mother, and the care she had provided for Kinsley. Toni acknowledged that DCFS had visited her family in the past, but described the visits as routine check-ins. She stated that everything had been fine during those visits, though further questioning revealed there had been ongoing concerns. Toni's mother, Tammy Halsey, had been an active part of their lives. When detectives asked about her involvement in Kinsley's care, Tony stated her mother hadn't noticed any issues. Investigators, however, found contradictions in Tony's statements and questioned why her mother hadn't intervened if there were concerns. The most significant revelation came when Tony explained how she managed Kinsley's behavior at home. She admitted that at times she had used a small closet for timeouts. Tony described it as a space for discipline, although it became clear that the environment was not conducive to a child's well-being. She acknowledged leaving Kinsley in the closet for extended periods without comforts or toys. When asked why she used this method, Tony explained that she found Kinsley challenging to manage, but her explanation didn't align with the conditions discovered during the investigation. The evidence suggested a pattern of neglect that affected both Kinsley's emotional and physical well-being. On April 14, 2024, detectives decided to speak with Ryan Smith, Tony McClure's new boyfriend, who had been living with Tony for about a year after her breakup with Kinsley's father, Bradley. When detectives sat down with Ryan Smith, they began by asking about his relationship with Tony and his involvement in Kinsley's life. Ryan explained that he and Tony had been in a relationship for a while, but he was not directly responsible for Kinsley's care. He admitted that his role in Kinsley's life was limited, as he was primarily focused on his relationship with Tony. Ryan stated that he was unaware of any neglect or abuse occurring in the home and did not have direct knowledge of Kinsley's physical or emotional condition. He described Kinsley as an energetic young girl, though he didn't have much information about her daily life or health. According to Ryan, he didn't spend much time with Kinsley alone and did not notice anything unusual about her health or appearance during the times they interacted. Despite his claims of not knowing much about the situation, the investigators weren't convinced by Ryan's responses. They understood that people close to Tony, particularly someone living with her, would have a clearer understanding of the daily routine and the care Kinsley was receiving. Ryan's attempts to downplay his role in the situation raised further concerns for the investigators. As the investigation into Kinsley's tragic death continued, her younger brother PW shared his memories of her time at home. He described how Kinsley often spent time alone in a small space without toys or playtime. PW recalled hearing Kinsley tapping on the walls, which left him feeling sad and confused. He also mentioned that there were times when Ryan, Tony's boyfriend, lost his temper with Kinsley while she was in that space. PW also shared that Kinsley's punishment seemed harsher than his own, as she was isolated in a dark, cramped area where she slept on the floor and struggled with basic needs. Tammy sat down with investigators and made a painful confession. She admitted she had lied to police, to child services, and even to herself. Not because she didn't care, but because she wanted to protect her daughter from losing custody of her other children. But protecting Tony came at a devastating cost. Tammy revealed she had witnessed Kinsley being sent to the corner for long periods. She remembered a family party on April 7th, where Kinsley was made to stand in that corner the entire time. The very next day at a lunar eclipse gathering, she saw her again, looking weak, quiet, and isolated. And then came the most disturbing detail. Tammy admitted that she once helped Tony prevent Kinsley from leaving her bed, using methods she now deeply regrets. She told investigators, "I did what I thought was helping, but I should be held responsible for not doing more." She said she had only watched Kinsley twice in 6 months, once on Christmas and once when Tony's youngest child was born. Each time she noticed Kinsley's condition getting worse, she begged Tony to treat her better, but never called for help. Tammy also revealed that Indiana's Department of Child Services visited their home 4 separate times. Reports were coming in about Kinsley's condition, but Tammy admitted she stayed silent, afraid of what might happen to her daughter. Behind closed doors, Tammy and Tony exchanged messages that lacked compassion, promoting strict discipline instead of love and care. By the end of her interview, Tammy said, "I should have spoken up. I should have done more. Whatever punishment comes, I accept it."
At this point, the truth was no longer unclear. It was confirmed, official and undeniable. The Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department shared a heartfelt public statement on Facebook. Chief Chris Bailey said, "My heart is heavy, knowing what Kinsley may have gone through in her short life. The details surrounding this case are deeply troubling. No child should ever face such a situation. If the suspects are found guilty, justice must be served to its full extent. On April 15, 2024, the legal process began to take its course. Toni McClure, Kinsley's mother, was officially charged with serious offenses, including murder, criminal confinement causing injury, and battery on a child under 14. The tragedy didn't end there. Ryan Smith, Toni's boyfriend, was also held accountable. He faced multiple counts of child neglect and criminal confinement resulting in injury. The charges shook the community, but they marked just the start of a broader investigation. Further developments revealed Kinsley's grandmother, Tammy High, was involved. She faced a preliminary charge of neglect of a dependent, resulting in death. While additional charges were still under review, the details were alarming. What began as a missing child case soon revealed a heartbreaking story of neglect, harmful treatment, and loss. The disturbing truth unfolded, showing how crucial warnings were overlooked. The community was left grappling with the devastating reality of what transpired behind closed doors. Kinsley McClure's story is a powerful reminder of the responsibility we all share in protecting the well-being of children. Her case highlights how important it is to stay aware and speak up when something doesn't seem right, especially for children who may not be able to express what they're going through. Every one of us can play a role. Whether it's noticing changes in behavior, observing something unusual, or simply trusting our instincts, early awareness and action can make a real difference. If you ever have concerns about a child's safety, reaching out to the proper resources or support services can help. It's also essential to recognize that families sometimes face difficult challenges. Providing support, education, and community resources can go a long way in creating a nurturing and safe environment for every child. By staying informed, compassionate, and proactive, we can help build a future where all children are protected, valued, and given the chance to thrive. Let this be a call to action for awareness, for empathy, and for community responsibility. Together, we can create a safer, brighter world for every child. As of March 2025, the case remains ongoing. A jury trial is currently scheduled for September 15, 2025. Ryan Smith has been released on bail, while Toni McClure and Tammy High remain in custody at the Marion County Jail. Like all open cases, each individual is presumed innocent unless proven otherwise in a court of law. Kinsley was remembered in a private memorial at East Hill Cemetery. Her headstone, a black, heart-shaped monument set on granite, features her photo in a red and black plaid dress. Delicately carved butterflies surround the words, "Too precious for this world."
Although she is no longer with us, Kinsley's memory continues to inspire a powerful call for awareness, compassion, and care. Her story reminds us all to look out for one another, especially for children who may not have the ability to speak for themselves. Thank you for watching, and remember, even the smallest voice can leave the biggest impact. Stay aware, stay kind, and always speak up for those who can't. Until next time, take care.